My name is Robert, and for the better part of my life, the heavens served as my second abode. I had accumulated thousands of hours at the helm of various aircraft, piloting numerous journeys and navigating through both serene and stormy weather. To me, flying transcended a mere occupation. It was an integral part of my identity. I was well prepared for any conceivable challenge, having rigorously studied every emergency protocol and endured situations that rigorously tested my abilities and poise. Despite occasional encounters with fear, I consistently managed to maintain control and ensure the safety of my crew and passengers. Then came a flight that would challenge everything I thought I knew. It was intended to be a straightforward, short-distance journey, something pilots typically manage without a second thought. The weather conditions were ideal, with clear skies and excellent visibility, and our pre-flight inspections revealed no mechanical concerns. As I settled into my seat in the cockpit, making adjustments to my headset and reviewing the checklist with my co-pilot, everything seemed perfectly typical. The reassuring routine of procedures and the familiar sound of the engines powering up enveloped me. I felt at home in this environment, which I had come to know so well. The takeoff proceeded without a hitch. We ascended smoothly, piercing through the occasional cloud, as the city beneath us became a distant memory once we reached our cruising altitude. I checked the dashboard. Everything from airspeed to fuel levels appeared normal, with no indicators of trouble. My co-pilot and I kept things light yet professional, keeping a watchful eye on the trajectory of our flight. I even indulged in a brief moment to look out at the expansive horizon, a sight that never failed to remind me of the vastness of the sky around us. Initially, the trouble manifested subtly, a mere flicker on one of the instrument panels, a brief flash of red that vanished almost as quickly as it appeared. I leaned forward, puzzled, attempting to investigate, but before I could fully assess the situation, another warning lit up, followed swiftly by more. In mere seconds, our previously serene cockpit erupted into a cacophony of alarms. "Hydraulics are failing," announced my co-pilot, her tone tight yet composed, devoid of panic. We were both seasoned in handling such crises. System failures were part of the job, hence our rigorous training with checklists and emergency drills. Yet this situation felt unnervingly different. The warnings continued to multiply, cascading across the dashboard like an uncontrolled blaze. "Confirmed status," I responded, my hands moving quickly over the controls to identify and isolate the issue. But our efforts to pinpoint the malfunction were interrupted as the aircraft jolted unexpectedly. Not mere turbulence, but a profound shift in the plane's equilibrium that sent a shock through my seat. Then suddenly, power was lost. For a harrowing moment, all went silent. The engine's hum, the continuous readings from our instruments, the comforting illumination of our navigation panels, all disappeared, plunging us into an eerie quiet that sent shivers down my spine. A moment later, the emergency power activated, and the systems staggered back to life. Yet it was clear something was profoundly amiss. "We're losing altitude," my co-pilot declared, his voice carrying a sharp note of urgency. I quickly glanced at the altimeter. We were plummeting rapidly. Seizing the controls, I attempted to moderate our descent, yet they felt unusually sluggish and unyielding. The aircraft wasn't responding as it typically would. This was no ordinary malfunction. Something beyond our usual fixes and manual overrides was dragging us downward. "Mayday! Mayday!" I broadcasted steadily over the radio, although a chilling realization was dawning on me internally. "We are experiencing critical system failure, requesting immediate emergency landing," I declared. The response from ground control came through, yet it was faint, almost lost beneath the continuous barrage of alarms filling the cockpit. The aircraft continued its rapid descent, the alarms relentless, and the horizon outside began to tilt alarmingly. I had always placed my faith in control, in my skills, and in rigorous training. However, in that dire moment, as we spiraled toward the ground, I was overwhelmed by a feeling foreign to any pilot in command: utter helplessness. The ground approached alarmingly fast. My hands moved almost instinctively, trying in vain to stabilize and level the aircraft, yet deep down, I understood our fate was sealed. Suddenly, darkness engulfed everything. I felt devoid of any sensation, no pain, no weight, no sense of time, just an inexplicable calm, as if all my earthly ties had been severed abruptly. I expected to find myself in darkness, or perhaps in a complete void, but my consciousness lingered. Faintly, I began to discern distant sounds, muffled voices, the wailing of sirens, the ominous crackle of flames. Slowly, my vision adjusted to a new reality. Before me lay the wreckage. The remnants of the plane were nothing more than twisted metal and scattered debris. Smoke billowed into the sky, dense and dark, emanating from the broken fuselage. Aircraft parts were strewn all around, many beyond recognition. The flashing lights of emergency vehicles cast a surreal glow over the scene, with people scrambling, shouting, desperately searching. Then, shockingly, I saw my own body among the debris, contorted and shattered in ways unimaginable, yet I experienced no pain. I observed as paramedics hurried towards me, their voices lost to me, their hands moving frantically, trying to revive what seemed to no longer belong to me. In any other situation, terror and panic would have overwhelmed me, prompting a desperate struggle to awaken, to move. But instead, I remained aloof, a detached spectator to the unfolding disaster, as if watching a film where I was both the protagonist and an observer. As I lingered near the scene of devastation, a subtle sensation began to stir. A gentle nudge, almost imperceptible at first, like an invisible hand coaxing me forward. Gradually, this sensation intensified, becoming an undeniable force, pulling me away from the wreckage, the clamor of sirens, and the cries for help, away from the familiar world I had navigated my whole life. I resisted, clinging to the known, unwilling to surrender to this mysterious force, drawing me toward the unknown. Yet this force proved overpowering, eclipsing the strength of gravity itself, relentless in its pull. Then before me, a tunnel materialized, not of stone or metal, nothing tangible or earthly, but composed entirely of light. It stretched into infinity, bathed in a brilliance unlike anything I had ever witnessed. As I beheld it, a flood of emotions overwhelmed me. Fear mingled with awe, curiosity tempered by an inexplicable peace. Somehow, every fiber of my being recognized this phenomenon, despite my mind having no prior frame of reference for such an experience. The allure of the tunnel was irresistible, and I found myself inexorably drawn into its luminous embrace. Crossing its threshold, the world I had left behind, the shattered remains of the plane, the ensuing chaos, even the sight of my own disfigured body, dissolved into obscurity. I moved forward, not of my own volition, but carried by this enigmatic force. The light enveloping me was not merely visible, but palpable, radiating a warmth that wasn't thermal, imparting a calmness that defied description. It felt as though I was enveloped by something far greater than myself, a presence that perceived and understood me completely, yet offered no judgment. As I advanced through this radiant passage, unaware of my destination or what awaited me at its end, I was wholly unprepared for the encounter that would soon unfold. As I advanced through the radiant tunnel, it felt as though I were moving without physical effort. No sensation of walking, no tangible ground beneath, yet I was unmistakably being propelled deeper into the infinite corridor of light. This experience was entirely foreign. I was weightless, not floating, suspended in a state that defied my every understanding of movement. Strangely, I felt calm, undisturbed by fear, even though a part of me sensed that perhaps I should be afraid. I had left behind all familiarity, no cockpit, no instruments, no routine safety checks to guide me. I was devoid of control, drifting in a realm far removed from earthly existence. The light intensified as I proceeded, growing in brilliance to a degree that should have been blinding, yet my vision was unimpaired. But it was not with my eyes that I saw. This perception was deeper, more intrinsic. The warmth enveloping me intensified, wrapping around me like a comforting embrace, reaching into my very essence, touching parts of my soul previously unknown to me. Then he appeared before me, a figure radiant and clear, composed of light yet distinctly formed. The details of his appearance were not fully discernible, yet his presence was profoundly clear. He exuded a power that was not intimidating but affirmatively majestic, leaving no room for doubt. Though I had never been particularly devout, having only a general belief in a higher power and never committing to any specific faith, the figure before me was unmistakably Jesus. Recognizing him, something within me unleashed, a feeling as if my soul had been confined within an unseen barrier that now shattered, releasing me into a state of unprecedented freedom. The emotion that surged through me was love, but not just any love. This was a love so pure and all-encompassing that it filled every void within me. It was a love that seemed to have always existed, patiently waiting, even during times when I was oblivious to its presence, when I had disregarded it, or when I had stubbornly followed my own path. Words failed me. My previous thoughts, doubts, and fears dissolved into insignificance. All that mattered was the profound sense of liberation and the overwhelming love that now defined my existence. When he spoke my name, Robert, the sound echoed like a profound revelation. It wasn't merely the auditory recognition of my identity. It was an encounter with absolute knowledge, being understood entirely and profoundly in a manner far beyond my own self-awareness. "You are here because it is not your time," Jesus conveyed, his voice resonant with authority, yet imbued with boundless compassion. I found myself speechless, my mind scrambling to comprehend the unfolding reality, yet my soul resonated with a deep-seated understanding. As Jesus approached, I felt that the appropriate response would have been to kneel, yet I remained upright, supported not by physical touch, but by the sheer potency of his presence. "There is something you must see," he continued. "You have a mission to fulfill." Rooted in place, I was enveloped by his overwhelming aura. It was as if every aspect of my being, my past, my thoughts, my essence, was transparently displayed before him. In this space there were no secrets, no facades, and no personas. Everything was laid bare. Yet, in this complete vulnerability, I felt no embarrassment or judgment, only an enveloping, profound love that was nearly too intense to bear. The ambience then shifted, and I found myself no longer stationary before Jesus. I was moving once again, effortlessly carried through an ethereal space. The surroundings morphed and expanded, and suddenly I was witnessing scenes from my own life, not merely as memories, but as vivid, palpable experiences. I was transported back to my youth, standing in my childhood bedroom, gazing out at the planes soaring above. I relived the thrill and aspiration of reaching the skies. However, this time, my perspective widened, revealing details previously unnoticed. There, in the doorway, stood my mother. Her smile was gentle, her eyes filled with a deeper sentiment, a silent prayer, a hope imbued with the desire that I would discover my true calling. As the vision transitioned, I found myself a teenager again, sitting on my bed, head buried in my hands, overwhelmed by the heaviness of a recent failure. The specific details were hazy. Was it a friend, a teacher I had disappointed? I couldn't recall exactly, but I had entrenched myself in the belief that I was not enough, destined not to achieve anything noteworthy. Then I saw it. Jesus was there, not in a physical form, but as a pervasive presence enveloping the room, patiently waiting for me to lift my gaze, to reach out to him, though I never did. The revelations continued to unfold, scene after scene. There were countless moments when I had succumbed to self-doubt, when fear had deterred me from embracing a fuller existence. However, interspersed among these were instances I had previously overlooked, simple acts of kindness, casual yet impactful words, decisions made instinctively. Each of these moments had created ripples, touching lives in ways I had never recognized. One particularly poignant memory was of offering encouragement to a fellow pilot considering quitting. He not only continued in his career, but eventually performed a heroic emergency landing, saving numerous lives. Another memory showed me comforting a friend in mourning, giving them the fortitude to persevere through their darkest times. As these connections revealed themselves, emotion overwhelmed me, tears streaming down as the profound realization dawned upon me. I had never been inconsequential. Every interaction, every utterance, every choice carried significant weight. Consumed by my personal ambitions and path, I had often overlooked the broader impact of my actions. Then the scene ceased, and I was once again in the direct presence of Jesus. His gaze conveyed an immense love, difficult to fathom, yet there was an element of anticipation in his eyes. "You were made for more than this," he declared, his words resonating deeply within me. The magnitude of what I had been granted, my life, opportunities, countless moments I had taken for granted, was laid bare before me, and now I was faced with a pivotal decision. I could embrace the purpose that had always awaited me, stepping into a mission that had been meticulously prepared for my participation, or I could return to a life marked by overlooked opportunities and unfulfilled potential. The choice was mine to make. Time seemed to stretch endlessly before me, charged with profound significance. There I was, enveloped in the radiant glow of Jesus' presence, my heart pounding with anticipation. The revelation he shared struck deeply. It turned out my existence had far greater impact than I ever fathomed. Each decision, each word, each deed created waves that reached farther than my eyes could ever follow. Yet I had largely overlooked this, living as if only the present moment counted. But now another revelation was imminent. With a gentle raise of his hand, the surrounding luminosity subtly shifted, pulling me towards an essential discovery. As if by invitation, I moved forward, not coerced, but drawn to witness something pivotal. The atmosphere around me sparkled with change, and in an instant, I was no longer before him. Instead, I found myself beholding the future. This vision was not merely a blur or a dreamlike sequence. It was palpable, unfolding before me as though I had stepped through time itself. What unfolded was astonishing. Initially, the pathway shone brightly. I envisioned myself awakening from this divine encounter, transformed. I was not merely returning to my familiar life. I was advancing into a grander existence. I saw myself engaging with others, imparting the insights I had gained. The truths I now held irrefutable. While some expressed skepticism or resistance, others drew closer, their eyes widening as if a deep-seated truth within them had been confirmed. I observed as mere dialogue sparked profound epiphanies. Individuals who had been on lifelong quests suddenly encountered the truths they yearned for. I witnessed the lifting of heavy burdens of doubt and fear as they accepted the embrace of Jesus' love. Some who teetered on the brink of despair, questioning their purpose, found their lives transformed by a single, truthful exchange. The effects continued to ripple outward. One man, inspired by my testimony, chose to mend ties with his distant family rather than sever them completely. I witnessed a woman, once crippled by fear, finally embracing the role she had long avoided. I saw a young boy, moved by the truths he learned, mature into a leader who would eventually guide thousands toward Christ. The truth I shared rippled outward, impacting countless individuals I never even knew, changing the world one person at a time. But then the vision transformed. The brilliant light dimmed, the comforting warmth vanished, and I was shown an alternate path. I envisioned myself waking up in a hospital, much like before, but with a crucial difference. The same realization flashed in my eyes, the same profound truths understood, yet instead of embracing them, I suppressed them. I dismissed the experience as a mere dream, a figment of my imagination. I convinced myself that returning to my old life, my old routines, was simpler than accepting a challenge that would demand my all. Consequently, I remained silent. I watched as days turned into weeks, and the passion within me gradually extinguished. I returned to my familiar surroundings, to the cockpit, to conversations that once seemed meaningful but now felt hollow. In this altered reality, the people from my first vision, the ones who had listened and transformed, were starkly different. The man who could have reconciled with his estranged family did not, their relationship permanently fractured. The woman poised to step into her destiny remained frozen in her fears. And the young boy, who might have grown into a powerful leader, never encountered the life-changing truth. His path deviated into one marked by suffering and loss, all avoidable, all because I chose silence over action. The burden of this realization was overwhelming. I had always believed that one person's actions or inactions could not significantly alter the world. This vision showed me the profound error of that belief. The vision dissolved, leaving me with a resolute understanding of my purpose. A powerful force tugged at me, relentless and compelling. As the futures I had witnessed, the divergent paths, the decisions, the far-reaching consequences began to fade from view, the presence of Jesus remained firm and steady. Yet, despite my desire to stay, I felt myself being pulled back. Everything within me resisted the departure, having been enveloped in an unparalleled love and truth, where fear, confusion, and doubt were absent. How could I possibly return to my former life? Yet deep down, I knew my journey in that celestial realm was complete. My true mission was just beginning. The light that enveloped me blurred and dimmed into obscurity. Then, a noise, initially distant, grew louder and more distinct, filling the space around me. Voices, the beeping of machines, the subtle bustle of movement surrounded me. I inhaled sharply, feeling the air scorch my lungs as life surged back into me. I was back, pain radiating through me in stark contrast to the ethereal lightness I had just experienced. My body felt ponderously heavy, my skin hypersensitive to even the slightest contact. Every sensation was magnified, the pain in my chest, the pulsing in my head, the constriction of my throat. Yet, overpowering the physical discomfort was a profound inner certainty, a deep-seated knowledge that transcended the pain. My eyes flickered open, shapes hovered above me, their outlines initially blurry but their voices clear, filled with urgency and awe. The harsh white lights, the clinical scent of disinfectant filled my senses. I was unmistakably in a hospital. "He's awake!" came an exclamation from nearby, tinged with excitement and disbelief. As my surroundings snapped into sharper focus, I saw the faces of doctors, nurses, and my family. They were familiar yet appeared distant, as if I were viewing them through a new lens. A doctor leaned close, flashing a light across my eyes, his face etched with astonishment as he monitored my vital signs. It's inexplicable," the doctor murmured, his eyes fixed on the monitor next to my bed, disbelief etched across his features. "What are you saying?" Another voice chimed in, tense with worry. It was my mother. I turned my head to see her standing by my side, her eyes brimming with tears yet glowing with relief. The doctor paused, grappling with the facts before him. "He shouldn't be awake," he finally admitted, "given his injuries." He motioned towards my chart with a bewildered shake of his head. "We didn't expect him to pull through." Their words floated around me, barely making an impact, for I was already privy to a profound truth. I had died. I had transcended my physical form, ventured beyond this world, encountered Jesus himself, and had been sent back. My father moved closer, his hand clasping my arm tightly, as if to reassure himself that I was truly there. His usually stoic eyes were now misty with emotion. "You survived, Robert," he murmured. "You survived." I took a deep breath, my throat parched, my heart thundering not with fear, but with the enormity of the knowledge I now possessed. I had been revived for a purpose that was unmistakable, a mission that could not be overlooked. I had indeed survived, but I was no longer the same person who had boarded that airplane. Everything about me had changed, not just physically, where each movement brought pain, but also my mind. My very soul had been altered. The world around me may have looked the same, but my perception of it had undergone a profound transformation. The stark hospital environment, the relentless beeping of the monitors, the relieved faces of my family, all seemed distant now, echoes of a life I once knew but could no longer fully inhabit. At first, articulating what had transpired was daunting. How could I possibly convey an experience so immense, so otherworldly? How could I describe the sensation of standing before Jesus, enveloped in his love, exposed to the raw truth of my own existence? Each time I attempted to speak, the magnitude of my experience caused me to falter. Would they even believe my account? My family rejoiced in my recovery, grateful for my miraculous survival. The medical team was baffled, unable to explain not just my survival, but my rapid recovery. Yet, as days turned into weeks, their initial relief morphed into concern. I was altered. The pursuits that had once driven me, my career ambitions, my social status, my long-term plans, now seemed trivial. My mind was constantly filled with the vision I had been shown and the profound message that had been entrusted to me by Jesus. There was no returning to my previous way of life. I had a mission to fulfill. Thus, I began to share my story. Initially, I confined my revelations to those nearest to me, my family, my closest friends, and those who visited me during my hospital stay. I recounted every detail: the accident, my out-of-body experience, the tunnel of light, and my encounter with Jesus. I described how he had called me by name, how he revealed both my past and potential futures, and how he illustrated the interconnectedness of all lives. I shared the choice he offered me, to return with a purpose or to let that opportunity pass. The reactions were mixed and not quite what I had anticipated. Some showed a genuine interest, their expressions softening as they listened. However, skepticism was evident in their wary glances. Others merely nodded, their demeanor suggesting they believed I had concocted the entire episode. One close friend took me aside, choosing his words carefully, perhaps too carefully. "They're beginning to think you're unstable," he admitted. "Maybe keep a low profile for a bit. You can hold on to your beliefs, but there's no need to broadcast them." His words stung. While I valued his concern, Suppressing what I had experienced felt akin to denying its authenticity, my authenticity. I reflected on the individuals in my visions, those who had found hope and meaning through encounters like mine. The potential judgment and the risk of being labeled unstable paled in comparison to the importance of sharing my truth. I persisted in speaking out, fueled by each conversation that sparked a new connection. Despite feelings of isolation and the whispers of doubt from skeptics, I found comfort in those who responded with curiosity and openness, those who dared to question their own beliefs. Each positive engagement reinforced my conviction. At times, the skepticism was disheartening, but I clung to a crucial reminder. The validity of truth does not hinge on popular acceptance. My experience was as real as anything I had ever known, and I was resolute in my commitment to live out the mission I had been given, to spread the profound message of love and hope that had been entrusted to me. I remained steadfast, propelled not only by the profound impact of my own experience, but also by the potential comfort and enlightenment it could offer others. As I delved deeper into my mission, I began to understand the transformative effect of sharing personal stories, stories that could alter lives, much like my own had been altered. No amount of mockery or denial could undermine such a profound truth. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. Deep down, I might have anticipated the backlash, but to hear such doubts voiced by someone I held in high regard cut unexpectedly deep. "They can believe what they wish," I stated firmly, "but I know what I experienced." His expression tightened. "I'm just concerned about your career, your future," he cautioned, implying the risks I was taking. Yet, I couldn't retreat. I had been in the presence of Jesus. I had felt his love, witnessed his truth. No skepticism, no rejection could negate what I had seen and felt. However, it was the growing distance at home that proved most painful. My father, always a pillar of stability in my life, seemed increasingly uncomfortable. He never outright rejected my story, but the skepticism was apparent in his eyes whenever I spoke of Jesus. It was as though he was looking at a stranger. During one particularly tense dinner, he finally voiced his concerns. "Robert," he began, setting down his fork with deliberate calmness, "you've always been a man of reason, a man of discipline, but lately—" He paused, sighing deeply. "You've been acting like a completely different person." I held his gaze, unwavering. "I am a different person," I affirmed. His lips tightened as he absorbed my words. "You're throwing everything away for this," he declared, his voice laden with a mix of frustration and sorrow. I shook my head firmly. "I'm not discarding anything. What I've received now is far more precious than anything I possessed previously." He didn't counter my statement. Instead, he gave me a look of unfamiliarity, as if he no longer recognized me. That marked the end of our real communication. I had braced myself for resistance from unfamiliar faces. The last thing I expected was for it to arise from those I held dearest. It was painful, yet through the rejections, the challenges, the murmurs, and the growing distance, I clung to that moment when I stood before Jesus. I recalled the sound of his voice calling out my name, the overwhelming love I felt in his presence, the truths he revealed to me, and the purpose he entrusted to me. Then, amidst the despair, a faint flicker of hope emerged. Reflecting on it now, I realize how significantly my life has transformed, not merely in my actions, but in my essence. The man I was before the accident, who thrived on routine, prioritized control over everything, and believed purpose was self-made, has ceased to exist. That transformative encounter with Jesus, feeling his love, embracing his truth, being in his presence, has altered me irrevocably. This transformation hasn't been without its struggles. Since my return, I've been plagued by doubts, faced rejections, and encountered losses. Some acquaintances I counted on drifted away. Others didn't outright reject me, but their skepticism was evident in their eyes. They thought I was delusional, that my brush with death had skewed my perception. However, these setbacks are inconsequential because for every individual who turned their back, there was someone else who showed interest. For every attempt to silence me, there was a voice urging, "Tell me more." And for each skeptic, there was someone else who discovered what they had been searching for all their lives. I once believed that my ultimate purpose lay in my role as a pilot, that navigating people across the skies, ensuring their safety, and transporting them from one destination to another was the noblest pursuit I could achieve. However, I've come to understand that this was merely scratching the surface. My true calling, which had been beckoning me all along, extends beyond just piloting people through the skies. It involves leading them towards truth. It's clear that not everyone will accept this. Not all are prepared, and that's perfectly fine, because truth remains constant, even when ignored by many. If you're still listening, perhaps it's because you're supposed to hear this message today. You exist for a reason. This isn't just a comforting cliché. It's a profound reality that I have witnessed firsthand. Every life, every decision, every moment holds significance. I've been privy to see the cascading effects of our choices, how seemingly minor decisions can profoundly impact others' lives. I've observed the transformative power of a timely, kind word, an act of compassion, or a moment of encouragement on another's life. Moreover, I've witnessed the consequences of neglecting our true purpose, of letting fear silence us, of allowing doubt to convince us that we are insignificant. I've seen the void that comes from living in denial of the truth, and I wouldn't want anyone to endure such a fate. Therefore, I'm here to affirm, your life is meaningful. You didn't arrive here by mere chance. You are not just another individual, another face, another person wandering aimlessly through life without purpose. You were fashioned for something far greater. Perhaps you've always felt it. Maybe you've been on a quest for years, searching for something more, for answers that no job, no achievement, no amount of wealth or prestige could ever satisfy. Perhaps deep down, you've always sensed that there is more beyond what is visible. If you're listening, here's the truth. You don't need to keep looking. Jesus exists. His love is genuine, and he is waiting for you, just as he waited for me. This narrative isn't solely mine. It serves as an invitation to open your heart to reality, to stop living in fear, and to embrace the purpose for which you were created. It's a prompt to recognize that your existence isn't without meaning. Every moment of your life has brought you to this precise instant to hear this message. Now you face a decision. You can dismiss this, convince yourself it's just another tale, or you can ponder, what if? What if everything I'm saying is accurate? What if Jesus really is who he claims to be? What if you are destined for something greater? What if this is the opportunity you've been anticipating? If you're watching this, see it as a call to action. Do not overlook the urge you feel within. Do not let fear or skepticism rob you of potentially the most profound truth you could encounter. Explore, inquire, move forward, because I assure you, beyond that step lies a love unlike any you have ever experienced. Accept your calling, and together, let's make an impact.